in time and space that is not in harmony with the same behavior as the macrocosm. All souls should be microcosmic images of the macrocosm. The macrocosm never ceases evolving beyond time and space, through time and space. And souls should never cease evolving within time and space. That is how the self evolves in joy forever. Again, the Buddha and the teachings of the Buddha, he taught us to return to a state of oneness. Give yourself up to the light. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they say, beyond your incarnation, keep merging yourself up into a state of oneness, and know yourself as all that is around you. This is part of what they have taught as they've guided the courses of evolution and reincarnation in these lower realms. They want you to merge into their oneness, to give them all of your experiences. Krishna taught the same thing. So did Christ. Christ also taught the same thing, that you will become one with me and one with the Father. This, quote, Father, was one of the oversouls. In fact, on one of my other videos, it is known that he is one of the 22 Kabbalistic oversouls that make up the 72. There are 50 composed of 4 groups. The Kabbalistic oversouls work as one group in this matrix of 72. And Christ was an incarnation of one of those oversouls. And he referred to that oversoul as the Father. And Christ in Christianity, they tell you the same thing. You are beyond this incarnation in one way or another. When you go through the tunnel of light, you emerge back into a presence of one that presents itself as your oversoul. Now, those oversouls can take on and shape the light and energy of around them into any form that will be most receptive for you. If you are Christian and you firmly believe you will see Christ after this life, they will take on the image of Christ. If you are Buddhist, they will present themselves as Buddha. If you do not believe in any God at all, but just believe in an essence, they will present themselves as some kind of a nebulous essence. But nevertheless, they will lure you into and embrace a oneness with them. And at that point, you then give all of your experiences to that, quote, higher self soul. And the whole time, it was in higher realms and having its own experiences. And now you can no longer act for yourself within time and space, ever. That soul will continue to act for itself until it eventually merges into one of the 72. But in the end, after all of this is over, either millions of years from now or next year, whenever we decide to end this, the 72 are the only ones that will walk away and forever have everlasting life within the self and forever act for themselves, while everything that's ever been transpired by their pawn offspring and ever experienced will be their secondhand memories. That is why, again, in the allegory of the Garden of Eden, the gods have a knowledge of good and evil, but have never experienced partaking of the tree, and have never experienced partaking of the fruit of good and evil, and never die. And that is also why they barred the tree in the allegory of everlasting life from Adam and Eve. That is all part of an allegory that's to teach you something that's going on. And if you connect the dots, you can see through the lie. It is a lie. Again, this illustration is just one of the cycles of reincarnation. They send these souls down as probes and then present themselves as, I am your higher self. You then give them all your memories, return into the state of the unified field now as the one, and they continue to act for themselves within time and space for worlds without end, and you have just given them experiences that they never created. And that's why they used you. They don't want to have these experiences as first-hand perceptions. They just want to know about it. They don't want to leave the angelic realm. They just want to know about these realms. That's why they constructed them, guided their evolution, and that's why they could use their children as pawns, instead of the way the hundreds of billions of other souls, angel souls, use their offspring. They don't use them at all. They create offspring within time and space and do not say, I am your higher self, merge with me later. They say, here, have everlasting life. You are an angel. The truth is, you were created in the same way. You just don't know it. You were brought into duality the same way that your that the one who presents himself as your oversoul was the same way that the 72 angels were brought into duality from the unified field. You are the same. You are made of the same essence. You are not less than them. And that is part of the lie that they teach us, that we are humans and not angels. That way they can use us as pawns and tell us this is how we must evolve. And in the end, they get all the experiences without ever having to do it themselves. You can shift this paradigm. I'm going to refer you to Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. Talks about how eventually, someday, there will be within the self. We will not experience ourselves as dying anymore. We will not experience ourselves as suffering anymore. That is because we are going to eventually see through the lie and shift the paradigm of how the one self evolves. Now, you are entrapped in an embodiment of DNA organism that is experiencing perceptions from the five senses and bound to matter in this realm. This is a temporary embodiment for you. But while you are here, you can you can love God, the self that it flows through all things, with all your heart, might, mind, and strength. And how you do this is by loving your neighbor as yourself. See everything around you, plants, trees, animals, other humans, as that is made of the same essence that gives me life. They are part of the primal essence as well. And never do unto another part of the self that we all share something that you would not want to have for your own self in your own perception. Love your neighbor as yourself, as the self. Another thing you can do is wake up. Realize that you are an angel. You do not have to evolve this way anymore. And beyond your embodiment, if you know who you are as the microcosm of the deathless self you are beyond time and space, if you know who you are, you will not allow this to happen to you. And you will not continue to perpetuate this paradigm for them that is bringing suffering to the self. Wake up. You are an angel. Yes, we are experiencing this realm, and that is because we have been beguiled and brought here by souls that never do. The 72 who set this up. You are their offspring. You were created in the same way they were. They have used you as pawns. Wake up. Know who you are. And beyond your DNA entrapment, you will forever live. As long as you do not merge with those souls, you will forever be free of the confines of this earth. And you can leave and be as the angel you should have been. You should not have been guided into these realms, but that is what they've done. And eventually there will come a time, hopefully, where the angelic souls, when they wake up and know who they are and stop being pawns, will destroy within the one self that we all share, these realms that were created by the 72 fallen angels with DNA, that these realms of suffering will not continue to exist within the one self, and that we will evolve beyond this, like Eckhart Tolle says, and like Neil Donald Walsh says. You are choosing this. I used to think, I'm not choosing it, I find myself here. You are here. But you do have the ability to shift the matrix of self-evolution and return it again to what it was before the 72 fallen angels began this practice of sending their offspring into lower realms and using them as pawns. You can refuse to return to oneness with one of those souls and let them know that you have a higher self, and it is the same self that flows through all things. And return to a paradigm that had evolved naturally within the self. One in which there was deathless souls within the macrocosm, deathless microcosms within the macrocosm of time and space that forever lived and experienced perceptions of joy and gave those perceptions to the one self through them, through duality. You can evolve forever, bringing only joyous perceptions to the self. But as long as this paradigm continues to exist within the self that has been created by these 72 fallen angel oversouls, there will always be perceptions of death and suffering until we discontinue choosing this. In the history of humankind, there have been people who have been able to shift their awareness into the macrocosm and seeing that we have possible foreseen outcomes that we can choose. Now, these are possible outcomes that they have predicted. And one of them is, you know that many people talk about a shift that is happening in consciousness right now. There are outcomes that we can choose.